The Roots of Success podcast is for the landscape professional who's looking to up their game. We're not talking lawns or grass here. We're talking about people, process, and profits. The things deep within the business that need focus to scale a successful company. From hiring the right people and managing your team to improving your operations and mastering your finances, we've got a brain trust of experts to help you nurture the roots of a successful business and grow to the next level. This is the Roots of Success.
Hey, welcome. This is Tommy with Roots of Success podcast. I've got a special guest on today. I'm super excited. When I see his smile, if you've got the cameras on, it is Vince Torchia from the Grow Group. We finally locked him down with his busy schedule, and he's not in the classroom. Amen. Vince, how are you?
I'm good, Tommy. Thanks for making time. Always good to chat with you. I know we've been looking forward to doing this. So, yeah, excited to be with you here today.
Yeah, this is going to be great. So I can't wait to get going. But Vince, man, what a crazy year it's been for you personally, right? You have been in the books and in the class, but that is done.
Yeah, for those that don't know, and not that they would know, Tommy, I don't think people are looking my bio up every day on LinkedIn or the internet, but I set out to graduate from law school, and I just graduated in May of 2023 from Syracuse. I had support from a ton of people to do it, your team included. So appreciate that. Been a lot of late nights, a lot of early mornings. I used to have a lot more hair than I do, but hey, man, I'm done and I'm moving forward. So happy to have it behind me and happy to have a new kind of tool in my toolbox to share.
No, that's great. You know, you've been working your butt off recently, and we've been supportive of you and basically holding you accountable to keep it going, right? Don't give that up. And now that you're on our side of the workforce, to have you basically full-time and not having to worry about school on the back end, this is going to be very awesome to have you on board 100%. So we're excited.
Yeah, no, it's been great. Even in the last few months, just digging back into things, getting organized, getting refocused has been great. So yeah, plenty to do for all of us, and happy to be done. Yeah.
So one of the questions we got to ask, like, we've known each other for a little while, you know, and how we got started. I've known Jim, Jason, and Chris for a really long time, since 2008. And so we worked together, and then you and I kind of ran into each other, and I was kind of like, who is this guy, man? He's very bright. And then I was shocked to hear that how young you are. I'm like, man, he's very well spoken and got things going. I don't know. Tell that how you got started with the Grow Group. You met Marty as an intern, and then you've been rock and rolling since then.
Yeah, it's exactly right, Tommy. So I think that we actually first met, at Michael Huff's Grow in 2019. I don't even think you were a full-time team member yet. I think it was just kind of starting out the process. And I think, Jim had mentioned, hey, you know, Tommy's going to be with us and future member of our team, et cetera. So it's hard to believe that happened and everything that's even happened since then. Yeah. But my kind of path through the industry, I went to the University of Dayton in Dayton, Ohio, go Flyers, same place that Marty Grunder went. He knew a teacher that I had. She hooked us up together. I started out as an intern with him. That was 2011. I had just turned 19, and we've been working together ever since. So things have evolved tremendously since 2011, just not only in terms of the industry, but what we're all doing. And then obviously partnering with you and your team on peer groups, coaching, and everything else that we do has been great for us and great for you and great for the industry. So I got to come clean. I've never worked on a crew. I've never scheduled a job, right? You can talk about Latin plant names all you want, and I'll have no idea what you're talking about. But this is the only industry I've ever worked in. It's the only industry I ever want to work in. I love it. I love what it does for people, the opportunity it creates. You and I have gotten to see in so many places, shapes, parts of the country, this industry changes people's and their families' lives. So it's an awesome industry to be a part of. I love what it stands for. I love what it brings. And there's only upside for people in the green industry right now.
Yeah, I love this industry. I've been in it since day one, kind of a little bit different than you, going to school for a landscape architecture degree. And who the hell I thought would be right in this situation right now. I never knew I'd be a podcast, never thought I'd be in coaching, never thought I'd be traveling the country, going to these destinations, seeing companies. But it's still in the wheelhouse of landscape, and I love every second of that. You know, and people get into this industry just because they can make such a grand impact. It's sort of like just instant gratification to someone's property, or house, or our business. And it's so gratifying to be a part of. Not only that, we get to do really cool things and help people in the business. We get to share all of our experiences that we've with people and members, and being on the road quite a bit and helping people grow. That's where we get all of our satisfaction, right?
100% right. There's nothing better than going to work with companies and seeing where they were, where they want to go, and having us being a part of that journey. So it's incredibly rewarding for us and for people that we work with.
Yeah, I love it. So oftentimes people get confused with McFarland, Stanford, and the Grow Group, right?
Yeah.
We're not a law firm, and all the time, right? But man, has this been like the most awesome relationship for both companies, our team, your team, Marty Grunder. It's just been such an awesome ride. Explain to our audience what all that means.
Yeah, so you're spot on. So just to give a little bit of background, so Marty Grunder founded Grunder Landscaping Company 40 years ago. Very relatable story, pickup truck and a lawnmower, grew the company over time. People started asking him, hey, I've read stories about your company. Can you come help my company? And then, starting about 20 years ago, Marty started this like coaching consulting group, then called Marty Grunder Inc., now called the Grow Group, where he'd go work with companies. And Marty's still actively involved in Grunder Landscaping Company, but he was running peer groups and doing some coaching and doing some events like our Grow event that, we've been fortunate enough again to work with you and your team on as well. And we got to meet Jim and Jason first at Complete Land Sculpture in 2016. And they got to come in and say, hey, we see what you all are doing. We're trying to do the same thing. We can do a lot more together than we can apart. And it's been a great partnership since then. So, Tommy, the Grow Group is a great way for people to get kind of big exposure to what the industry can do for you, get to see a company that operates well. And then I love to tell people, if you're looking for, peer groups, one-on-one coaching, bookkeeping, recruiting, all the things that go in to support your company, the Grow Group doesn't do any of that, right? That's why we partner with people like you at McFarland Stanford to give them the in-depth, like scalpel type tools to go operate in their business. So it's a great fit for us to be partners, and we bring so much value to our clients. It's super fun to do together.
Yeah, it's been just really good. And having both parties together has been a great relationship. The McFarland Stanford team, we've all been in the landscape business together. We've been at the same company. Grunder's been going for a long time. It's been very relatable to everybody. I think you're involved in Grunder Landscape as well a little bit, right?
That's correct. Yeah. So it's fortunate for me because I get to kind of see inside the four walls and outside the four walls at the same time. And that was really a product of COVID, Tommy. We were just kind of reevaluating everything we were doing in 2020. Marty and Seth really runs Grunder on a daily basis over there, just came to me and said, hey, like, you've got a ton of knowledge that we don't have. We need help. We're going through kind of uncharted territory. And I got involved more heavily with them in 2020, which really involves being on the leadership team, kind of setting a chart, setting a plan, giving them an outside perspective. But it's been awesome for me. I've learned a lot more about the nuts and bolts of the industry, but then also good for Grunder to have an outside perspective. I've got no emotion in the business. I'm not there every day to kind of see every single thing that happens in a good way, because I can kind of come in clean and say, hey, this doesn't make sense from an outside perspective. And it's one of those things where they're like, yeah, we just see it every day and kind of take it for granted, but you're right. This isn't working. We got to make changes. So it's really been a great learning opportunity for me as well.
Yeah, it's not been difficult for you to jump in, right? Not industry related experience. I think most of your, the dirt that you sort of hold on to as far as when you come into companies or even Grunder Landscape is just basic business practices, standardizing process and systems, good culture, right? That has nothing to do with Latin names at the end of the day. And I think a lot of us get sucked into the whole knowing the industry, right? Or being at Grunder Landscape, you kind of just have like the same blinders on and the same rotation every single day, whereas Vince can kind of come in and sort of change things or see it from a different perspective.
Absolutely right. No different than, Tommy Cole walking into my house right now. Like you're gonna see things differently than I do. I see it every day. I don't even think about where my towels are or why my bathroom's here or why this is that way or what things look like, because I'm just so used to it. So outside perspective lends a lot. And again, like my default kind of, I'm not emotionally involved. So people play favorites, people don't like people. We get to come into companies and say, I don't care how long Tommy's been with you. That guy's a stud, whether you like him or not. Like he is producing. And sometimes people cannot see that because emotions cloud it or things cloud it or, well, Timmy's been my guy for 25 years. And I'm like, I've been here for 3 days. I have no idea even what he does here. You know what I mean? So we get to come in totally clean and have a good professional conversation about, hey, really, what do you want to do with this business? Because it is a business, right? This could be a not for profit if you want it to be. That's not what the intention is. So
No.
not emotional. Hey, this is just what I'm seeing. I'm going to give you professional advice. I'm going to do it in a way that we're both going to win, coach people to make good decisions. And it's just a nice benefit for us, a nice benefit for the people we work with.
Yeah, it's great. It's no different than like when I was in the landscape world every day. You show up to somebody's house, you're like, man, I can sit here and go, that's wrong. That's wrong. That looks great. How come about this?
Yep.
What happened over here? Now we get to travel the country and go, wow, Timmy, Tommy, Sally, Bob, and
Yep.
you kind of know how things are run when you first show up. Like you have a really good idea how things are run with that company, and that's where we have a little bit of an advantage or a little bit of an insight of just because we see so much going on. We see, great things going on. We also see some things that need improvement. So that's where us running peer groups has helped a lot.
Absolutely right.
Yeah. So we're halfway point of 2023. We've been through the COVID thing, and like, what's just out there that you see that's sort of dominating the industry?
Well, I think number one, people have really understood that it is all about people at the end of the day. I'm not sure I saw all that happening 3 years ago. I think 3 years ago, people were still kind of running and gunning, and it was about things that weren't necessarily all about people. But whether it's COVID or whether it's like the modernization of the workforce, whatever you want to call it, people are really understanding it is about people. No different than like NFL teams. Like it's a quarterback driven league. Like you will be good when you have a good quarterback. Your department will be good when you have the right person running that department, right? Your numbers will look good financially when you have the right person in that department. And I think people are really learning that. And Tommy, I'd say going hand in hand with that, we've seen a huge kind of bump in pay across the industry the last few years because people have really started to understand you get what you pay for. And so again, everybody got their kind of their own way of looking at that. But I think people are paying people more, expecting a little more out of them, understanding that the secret sauce they have is their people. Any other company can go get the same equipment, can go get the same software, can go get the same things anybody else. But the way that you manage, monitor, coach, train, and have like an accountability system within your people is going to be unique to you. So I'd say people, number one, companies that are run well are really seeing the value of placing value in the right people in the right seat at their company.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. It's been, people is like your number one asset in your business. It's not
without a doubt.
Piece of equipment, the excavator, the pickup truck. It's people have to operate that at the end of the day, and good people. So first off, finding the right person, right? Constantly recruiting, constantly attracting top talent. Like, what does that mean? Attracting top talent? Well, do we look presentable as a company? How do our trucks look? How does our people look out in the field? Are we good in communication? Do we not communicate well? What do the clients think of us? All that, and people are kind of watching you as a company owner and going, man, that's a really great place. Like there's a lot of feedback from that group. Yeah, people is the number one thing at the end of the day. Is they can make or break your company at the end of the day, right?
Oh, absolutely. And again, I've heard it from Marty well before, and it's what you just said. This idea of like, do we have a great company to work for? Like, bear none. Like, would I want my kid to work here? Would I want my nephew to work here? We've learned about referral programs from you and your team. Like, if you're not getting employee referrals, like chances are you may not have a great place to work. Like, I'd want to know why that is, right? So without a doubt, I'd say, to your point, people is number one, your absolute biggest asset. Completely agree with you. And I would say, kind of going off of that in a little bit of a different way, if I'm seeing any other trends right now, I'm seeing companies, this is going to sound funny, but companies are kind of now figuring out who they want to be when they grow up. Like they didn't really have an identity, right? And they've kind of blown through 2020. They keep saying yes to everything. And now companies are like, man, I got to this point and I'm not sure what kind of company I want to be when I grow up. Are we full service? Are we high end residential and high touch? Are we bid build? Are we commercial? Like, what do we really want to do? And I'm seeing a lot of companies really get very detailed about understanding, hey, I need to pick my lane and I need to be really good at it.
Yeah.
And there's no wrong way to do that. It's more about just if there's confusion between you and your team about who you think you are and who you are, that's when we've got problems, right? Like everybody knows in their head the difference between going to a Ruth Chris steakhouse and an Outback steakhouse. Like,
Yeah.
they're just different experiences. Both are fine businesses, and there's nothing wrong with either one of them. But if you think you're Ruth Chris and you're delivering Outback Steakhouse service, that's a problem. Or if you think you're Outback, but you're actually delivering Ruth Chris service, like that's great that you're giving everyone a great experience at Outback, but like they're not paying for that. So where's the rub here? And I think companies are really taking a look internally now to say, again, sounds funny, like who do I want to be when I grow up? What kind of company do I want? And again, it's not one size fits all. It really depends on your market, your team, how you're set up, what you can do. But
Yeah.
people are really closing the gap on that misalignment of who we think we are versus maybe who our clients think we are.
Is that a product of just being young and inexperienced and saying, I got to have it all, right? Or the call comes in and do you do tree work and you're like, man, we don't do tree work. Like that's just entrepreneurial type spirit of like, we'll take it all in. And all of a sudden you've got 12 things of service lines and they're all kind of like 50% there, right? And you just start taking it all in more and more. And then years go by and you're like, I'm bogged down. I can't handle this anymore. Is that a product of just trying it and then just going, whoa, hold on. I got to chill. I've got to chill out.
Yeah, no, that's 100% right and very well said. And I think what happens is owners get into this industry for a reason, right? They want to call their own shots. They want to do their own thing. They want to, again, have their own identity in the company. And to get to the point where they have a successful company, they say yes to a lot of things, right? Yes, I'll do this. Yes, I'll do that. Sure, we'll do this. Sure, we'll do that. And then again, as they evolve and get bigger and bigger, the challenge becomes saying no, right? Like, no, we don't do that actually. And I think it's just a product of number one, if you have the right people, you can say yes to a lot of things, right? If you have the right people, you can start a tree division, you can build fences, you can wash windows, right? You can do things if you have the right people that are going to own those service lines. But if you feel like you're kind of on an island or you got one or two key people, either you have to go out and get those people or you have to figure out what do I do and what do I do really, really well. In a big city, Tommy, as you know, maybe even like in Dallas, you can just do commercial maintenance all day long if you want.
Yep.
Right? You can do that all day, every day, be really good at it, never even park in a residential neighborhood if that's what you want to do. Also in Dallas, Texas, you can just do residential work, right? All day, every day. But we get to go around the country and we get to go to places like maybe Appleton, Wisconsin, or Omaha, Nebraska, or Dayton, Ohio, where you may not be able just to do one thing really well. The market may not bear that. So you might be saying yes to some other things and you're in a market where you can do that. And then you're going to advertise, hey, I'm your one-stop shop. I'll do everything on your property, right? So I do think owners have gotten ahead of their skis on a few of those things sometimes. And it's great to have the perspective of, okay, now we're going to start saying no to some things. We're going to start to reel things back in and get really, really clear about who our ideal client is and who our ideal team member is to support who that ideal client is.
Yeah. So Vince, you mentioned ideal client. I love this topic a little bit. This is kind of a spinoff, but we coach to this all the time and people are like, man, wait, what? What do you mean by ideal client? Like explain to our audience, like what, some of us heard that before, but like break it down for me.
Yeah. So an ideal client really is for us, the intersection of a couple things. Number one, it's what can we build a business around, right? So if your ideal client is the like $5 million estate properties and you live in the middle of nowhere, Ohio, like tough to build a business around that. There's just not enough. That can be your ideal client, but I don't know, right? Not enough of those around. So it's kind of the sustainability factor, not sustainable like green environment, sustainable like can we make a business work around this client, right? That's kind of one prong of the test. Another prong of the test is like, are we good at this? Do we enjoy this, right? And not enjoy like big smile on my face every day I go to this property, but Like, can I see a future with this, right? Are we good at giving the product that we give out? And then number three, kind of most importantly, like, do we make money at this? Like, can we perform this to make a profit, to reinvest in the company, hire the right people, get the best of the best in terms of our company to go serve? So when we look at ideal client, we kind of run that 3-part test. Can we build a business around this? Is it the kind of work that we want to do? And can we make money at it? If we can do that, we can put that person as one of our ideal clients. And again, Tommy, right? Things that we've talked about before, like rating your clients is not a bad thing, even on those 3 things. You can export your client list, you can put them in Excel. You can say, hey, I'm going to go through and rate each one of these on those factors and figure out if these are our ideal clients or not. Chances are when you do that, you're going to understand, wow, a lot of our ideal clients fit the same profile. Maybe in the same neighborhood, maybe belong to the same types of organizations, maybe generally the same kind of people. Man, all of our non-ideal clients are commercial properties. Like, we need to take a look at our commercial division. Maybe that's our fault. Maybe we're not doing what we should be doing. Maybe we're just not set up well to be a commercial company. And we got to really figure out either how we're going to make that jump, or we got to focus on what we're better at. But people that don't have an ideal client, like if they're listening to this saying, man, I don't know who my ideal client is, don't overthink it either. You probably have an idea of who it is. It's more about just putting some measurables behind it, but figure out what kind of work is sustainable, what kind of work is enjoyable, what kind of work you can make money off of. And that's a great target for people to get after that ideal client.
Yeah, I think it's also just the owners taking a step back at their current business and go, I'm going to block out 3-4 hours this afternoon and just see what I've got on my plate of all my clients and all the work we do. You could take your book of maintenance clients and look at it and go, print the list off. You probably know most of them all, if not all, and go through and go, oh my God, I still do Miss Smith's house from 7 years ago and I'm charging $100 a month. But Miss Smith is just so nice. And she was my second client ever. I'm like, and you're looking at like 75% of your clients that are paying 10 times that.
Exactly.
You're like, oh man. Okay. So, and that's what we talk about the client. Is Miss Smith your ideal client? Have you just kind of grown and evolved the business past Miss Smith, right?
So true. So many companies we work with still have like legacy clients they've held on to because, again, they've had them forever, right? And they don't want to change it. But you're right. And we can run Mrs. Smith through our filter. We love Mrs. Smith. She's great, right? We love working with her, enjoyable property. Maybe it's not sustainable. It's definitely not profitable. So either we have to make it profitable or we got to have a conversation with Mrs. Smith about maybe finding her somebody else to do her work from now on. But no, that's a perfect example of how somebody can run through that.
Yeah, love it. Love it. One of the things I'm seeing too is I feel like COVID sort of put a rug over everything operational because the sales were coming in no matter what. How fast can you give me a bid? How fast can you start? When can you be done? Just name the price. And the sales were flying in. Now, there's a period where it was, a little unsure with the world. But, once that was well and done, everyone stayed at home. Business just skyrocketed. And I feel like a lot of times, and correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm in line, but we sort of like just the sales were coming in. Now we're doing pools. Now we've got a backlog. Just keep going. But now things have sort of shifted a little bit to being little less, they're just falling into our lap. And I feel like a lot of the operational side was just put a rug over it, so to speak. And we've got to sort of pull the rug back and go, whoo, wow, what is the world that we have now? We have to get better at our operation or our system that we sort of had. Is that what you're experiencing as well?
100% right. Because also through that whole process, to your point, prices have been at an all-time high for things. And so while pricing is probably never going to go backwards, your operational challenges are going to eat into those price increases very quick. So if you raise prices by 10, 20, 30% over the last 3 years, but operationally you're giving back 5, 10, 15, 20%, those price increases are kind of just like covering up all the mess that you've made, right? So to your point, now, as we're talking about this, I think expectations for customers are at a super, super high as well. They want what they want. They still want it now. They don't want to hear excuses. They just want to have it happen. So that's great that we all got to increase our price. That's great that we all got to charge more. And maybe our industry was lagging in a price increase for some time, and now we've caught up. But do not give all that back in this operational challenge that you've just brought up. You really got to look internally and say, hey, right, like just because our gross margins are up, but we're giving back more money because, or I'm sorry, our prices are up, but our gross margins are going down because we're sloppy, or we're not efficient, or we're not using the right systems or processes. So price increases have been great, but if you're giving that all back in the terms of, operational inefficiency, you're really no further ahead than you were 2 years ago.
No, yeah, good point. Good point. So we see a lot of companies throughout the country, and we travel quite a bit. There's a lot of success out there. There's a lot of good things happening, and we see it a lot. What are some of the things that are companies doing for our audience that we can leave them a few nuggets on this show?
Yeah, I think very clear to me when we go to a company is if they've all bought into the same vision for the company or not. Like, how crystal clear is that direction laid out for the company? Not just for owners and management, but for everybody else on the team. When we get to go in and we get to meet other companies and we get to see them and they go through their stations and we get to meet everybody, very clear to us very quickly if they're not all on the same page about where they're going as a company. And it doesn't have to be anything crazy either. It's not like our vision is to be a $100 million company. It's like our vision is to do more maintenance sales, right? If only one person brings that up out of 5 people, like, I feel like maybe we're a little bit misaligned. And so It sounds basic, but having a super clear direction and vision for the company, companies that succeed do that very, very well. Everybody on the team from top down knows, what are we trying to do? How are we trying to do it? How are we keeping score along the way? And people know not only if they're doing a good job, but also they're being coached if they need to be kind of put in spot to do a better job and correct some of their behavior. But having a clear vision, having a clear path for what we want the company to do and the identity of the company is super clear. And then I would say companies that I see that are really successful, they take action and they go execute. They don't wait for the silver bullet. They don't wait till everything's perfect. They start to make changes at their company for the better and know that it's a process and this is a journey and it's a marathon and it's not a sprint. And we are going to slowly iterate and make all these changes over time, but they're not analysis by paralysis. They're not waiting till things are perfect. They're going to stick and move. They make decisions. They move forward. Sometimes they deal with the consequences, but they use it as a learning opportunity and they move forward. So if you can set your vision and you can set your path and you can empower your team to make decisions and not have analysis paralysis and wait until everything's perfect, whether it's a system, whether it's a bonus program, whether it's a new job service, whatever the case may be, if you can get your team to move forward, I see really, really good things happening for the companies that we work with.
That's great. Yeah, vision is great. And what that means is, what's the direction you're headed? Is it within 1 year? Is it 5 years, 10 years? But they've got to see that long-term benefit of what we're doing right now, every single day, right?
Absolutely right.
And then execute. Man, the number one thing I see owners doing is overthinking everything, right? They're overthinking about, oh my God, is this going to be right? Is this going to be wrong? What if the crew's going to think of me if I start a morning huddle? Well, they'll never attend the morning huddle. They'll never get in a circle together. Like, what? How do you do it? And it takes one-on-one meetings. Like, no way would I ever meet with someone. It's just like, from the data I have in front of me, make a decision and go with it. Are you going to be right 100% of the time? Nope. But stop overthinking and just execute.
Yeah. Oh, God, overthinking is such the right word too. And I'm guilty of it too on things, right? Like, there's times when I can go down the rabbit hole and think of all the reasons why this isn't a good idea. And you've got to zap yourself out and say, what is the worst case scenario for having a morning huddle? How is that going to cause any problems? Like, that's only going to be good. I can't carve out 5 hours for my one-on-ones. Like, I got other issues if I can't figure out a way to do that. So yes, overthinking is such a good word to use. I think a lot of people identify with that because people are afraid to make mistakes and they're afraid of the unknown. And that's so easy to overthink. I totally agree.
Yeah. Yeah, executing is just get it going. But one of the things I like is, take something a little bit different. But when you show up to a facility, you have a pretty good indication what things are like, right? And I'm not saying a world class facility with a brand new building. Nope, not at all. What I'm saying is like, how is it set up? Is it organized? Is it clean? Does everyone have a role in the morning? I read an article the other day that Marty Grunder, did something on LinkedIn, and I think you commented, and he's so great at his, thinking of his analogies and go, and you commented back and said, does each person on the crew have a role to do in the morning? Like, to me, that facility in the morning and how things are going is a direct function of how you are out there in the field. Maintenance properties, construction job sites, clients.
So true.
Direct correlation, right?
Oh, so true. I think that if I walk onto your property, to your point, and I see that it's sloppy, I'm going to automatically think maybe your job sites don't look as right and tight as they should. If I'm in there at a morning rollout and I'm seeing like number 2s and 3s on crews, maybe not knowing exactly what they're supposed to be doing in the morning, I'm already thinking, okay, those number 2s and 3s probably don't know exactly what they're supposed to do on the property they're at either. I think you're right. Morning rollout and the facility itself is such a good indication of other areas of the organization. And to your point, like, it does not have to be the Taj Mahal. It does not have to be something fancy. It's got to be clean. There's got to be good signage. It's got to be safe, right? All those things. But that is so true. We like to even like admit, like, when you walk on a property, it should feel like this is a landscaping company and that you value the work that you do, right? We've been to properties, whether it's, I'll give a shout out to Mike Prokopchek in Annapolis, Maryland. Like, you go to his facility, there's no question what kind of work they do. Like, you feel that from the minute you step on to that site, right? Like, that is a great example of companies taking ownership of their property and their vision and their morning rollout and showing that into their clients' properties as well.
Yeah. We're going to see Mike in a couple of months, and we're super pumped. We've been there. I've been there once before, but he's built a new place, and it's gorgeous. I'll get another shout out, Vince. You'll laugh at this one. This is an old school. Tim Trimmer, Professional Grounds in DC. One word, his facility: small. The smallest ever facility ever known. And do you know, like, he gets the biggest bang for his buck in that tiny facility? You've seen those trucks packed in there, but to me, he does completely different work than Mike. Completely different, right? Commercial maintenance, and he's evolved over the years from his pass on from his family, but he packed so many trucks in there and so efficient about how his morning rollout is. It blows me away, right?
Oh my gosh, totally right. And again, like, you walk into that company and you can feel that they're an operations driven company. Like, I have full confidence in watching their team operate at their facility that they're showing the same level of care and really just like overall thought process on their properties as well. And again, like, Tim's got every property mapped, right? Like, he is taking advantage of every single thing that he can do, not only at his own facility, but at their customers' facilities as well. So it's a great point.
Yeah, good one. So some actions that you can take to be a good team member, a good leader. Like, we talk about the facilities, we've talked about the people, we've talked about, what companies want to be and the ideal client, but like, let's just go real small and narrow with whether you're on a crew, whether you're, coming out of a school and learning an industry, whether you are vice president of your company, who knows? Like, being a good leader goes extremely long ways. What are some things that they can be to be a good one?
My default for anybody that wants to improve their leadership and be better, to your point, whether they're a crew leader or an owner or a sales manager, whatever the case may be, is to adopt this big philosophy called a growth mindset. And the basics of the growth mindset, Tommy, is I'm going to look at myself first, and I'm going to correct the behavior that I don't like about me before I go and try to correct and change others. If there's a problem with our morning rollout, then I'm going to say, what can I do personally to make our morning rollout better than to walk into a manager's office and say, morning rollout sucks. I'm sick of this. You guys better fix this. If I'm a salesperson saying, I'm not closing enough leads, I'm looking at myself first going, man, maybe I'm not quite organized enough. Maybe I don't have my days scheduled properly. Maybe I'm not doing as good of a job as I should be when I know what I could be doing. Instead of saying, hey, these customers suck. These clients are idiots. This is never going to work. I hate this. Like, right. That's you're going to lose every time. So if I can offer any wisdom to anybody, it's look at yourself in the mirror first and say, what am I doing or not doing that's allowing me to be successful first before I look at anybody else? And I feel like if you do that, you're just going to put yourself ahead from a mentality standpoint, right? I think that's like a very, very good basic lesson for any future leader to understand.
I love that. You know, we live in a somewhat negative society where bad news travels better than good news. You know, negative clients travel faster than great clients. And I remember back in the day of being at a landscape company, and you couldn't talk bad about any client. Like, let's just start there, right? You know what? All clients are going to be somewhat tricky or difficult throughout the season. But if we look at it as a negative way, then how do we get better? Like, to me, one of the biggest things that I can take as I've matured over the years is look at yourself as a mirror, as a leader, right? Mm-hmm. What could have I done better in that situation? What could, you're only as good as what your crew is, right? It's not the crew that's terrible. It's like, what could I have done? Like my new thing now that I'm reading is this extreme ownership.
Yep.
And if I can give anyone a word of advice, like go read the book, go listen to the Audible, but you owning what you're supposed to own and taking it to the 9th degree is what you need to be doing. Is I own those two crews. Like those are my crews. I own the calendar and schedule. Everything is about me leading that team to success. That's every single day, right? It's no different than the Navy SEALs. The guy in charge, he takes all the blame, right?
Right.
At the end of the day, he's either got his team prepared for battle, he's not got them prepared for battle. So my advice is own it 100%, right? And what could but it kind of leads into the growth mindset. What could I have done to be better? So
I think what's great about that too, Tommy, is like that goes outside of even just like work, right? So if anybody listening to this can take that mindset and apply it to work or apply it to family or apply it to working out or anything in their personal life, like all those little things, those little decisions in your mind you're making, like net lead you to becoming a better person. Like that's why like successful people get more successful because they're doing the little things every day. And that's like a compounding effect, right? So that if you can get those habits in place and take ownership of things, you're just never going to be in a bad position if you do that. You're going to learn a ton. You're going to scrape your knees. You're going to bump your nose. You're going to cause problems. There's going to be some tough things that you encounter. But like that's how you get better, right? And to constantly just deflect things onto others, to your point, is you're going to be on a sit and spin, right? You're going to be moving a lot, but you're not going to get anywhere. So I love it. If we can own things and we can kind of look at ourselves first, a lot of good is going to come from that.
Yeah. Take the high road at the end of the day and own something and run with it. It'll go much further than the blame everyone else that everything is wrong approach. I was everything football. I love football. I know you do. And at the end of the day, they look at the head coach. The head coach is the leader. The quarterback is the leader of the offense, also the face of the franchise. Listen, when they're not winning, they're going back to the coach. And when they are winning, they're like, man, life's great. I'll always compare to that. But, I've been in some companies where it's just a negative vibe and it doesn't go well. I get it. Moving forward, the rest of this year, the next year, and many years to come, like, what are some things that you're seeing that people are doing or people are prepared for? The economy is always, sort of day to day, month to month, unsureness, but yet great. I see the economy still doing great. Everyone's busy, everyone's really just got a good backlog. I don't see much slowing down. Like, what do you think this next 6 months to 18 months look like?
I think what people are doing, I think successfully, is just creating plans with kind of some forks or contingencies along with them. Like, hey, we're going to make our plan and we're going to stay the course and we're going to continue to do the things that we know we need to do. And we're going to build in little contingencies to make sure that we don't maybe overextend ourselves or get too far over our skis. So little things like that would be like, we're used to creating these like 1, 3, 5 year plans. I think that all still makes sense. Companies should be planning ahead, but also don't be afraid to have some like check marks in there. Like, hey, we're going to do this as our 1 year plan. However, like if we miss on our revenue targets or we're learning that we don't have the skills to do this, like we're going to reforecast for the rest of the year. And we're maybe not going to buy that truck and add that extra crew quite yet. Right. So I'm always telling people just have some markers along the way where you can either throttle up or throttle down that are easy decisions to make. Right. So that's why these 1 year goals, these 5 year goals, these 3 year targets are helpful, because now we have some decisions we can make. If we're probably starting already to have our 2024, 2025 plans maybe thought out in a rough way in our head. But like if we're missing targets now, I may be a little weary to like invest in that new truck and new crew for next year unless something else changes. But don't be afraid to kind of change and have these contingencies locked in. It's like this if this then that planning. If we hit our goal, we're going to buy this truck, we're going to hire this new crew, and we're going to continue to grow that department. If we stay flat, we're going to wait another year, we're going to ride it out, we're going to get more efficient, we're going to cover up our operational slop, and we're going to do well. Yeah. If we miss our target, right? I mean, those are the kind of conversations I'd be having with our team, and just not overextending. I'd be watching my cash position. I wouldn't be really extending myself too far out on anything right now, just with uncertainty. I'm a little risk averse compared to other people, just like it's my nature. Some people want to pour on the risk and make it happen. Kudos to them if they want to do it. But I don't think you're ever going to go wrong if you have some contingency plans. If this, then I'm going to do that.
Yeah. So if someone's sitting here going, man, how often should I look at this? 1, and 2, should I look at it by myself, or should I look at it with my team members, with my right-hand person? Like, should I share this with anybody? Should I hold it all to myself? Like, what do you recommend?
Yeah, so I think for like when I think of strategic things, it's kind of natural, but that's like a quarterly outlook. So if you can take a step back once a quarter and look out really for this year, and then like at Grunder, when we do quarterly planning, like minimum we're looking out like another 3 quarters, so like a minimum of a 12-month lookout. But anything strategic should be on a quarterly perspective and thinking, hey, we're in Q2, we're in Q3, we're in Q4. How are we going to end this quarter? Then what does next quarter really look like? So that's what I would do on a quarterly perspective. Depending on who on your team can have the same level of strategic conversations with you, and you can see a path to coach them to do that, I'd be involving department managers and the current like financial or HR people on your team to help make good decisions. What I wouldn't do is kind of come in with an open slate and say, hey, what should we be planning for Q1 next year? Because now we've created this, like everybody has their own opinions, and now we've opened the bag and we can't really close it. If you're an owner doing this for the first time, I would kind of chart out what my plan is going to be and say, hey, this is what I'm seeing for Q1. I'd love your comments. I'd love your feedback. I'd love to know what you think we could do beyond this, but I wouldn't start from nothing. I would start with a plan in your head, and plan can really just be, what are we going to produce? Are we buying any more trucks? How's our team structure look to support this? But yeah, have something prepared to look at together. Too open of a conversation, now it's too difficult. We have too many votes, too many opinions, too many people kind of sharing, where we should really just be focused on kind of getting aligned on one thing.
Yeah, a good baseline was what they say, a good foundation, have a general idea. This goes back to the conversation of the vision.
Absolutely right. No doubt.
In hand. Yeah.
No doubt about it. Yep.
Yeah, I love that. Almost taking a step away from your business to sort of think about what's going on currently. What do you see trends? What do you see some weaknesses and strengths in your business and your people, and take a look back and then project what you think is going to happen in the next quarterly. It's 3-month chunks, right? And you can kind of understand everything in small bite-sized chunks. It's 4 of those in 1 year. And that's general business practice, whether you're in landscape or anything, is on a quarterly basis. Yeah,
absolutely right.
So, as we sort of come to an end here, great conversation, Vince, as always. But is there anything that we left out that Vince has got in his back pocket and goes, man, I'm not the landscape guy. I kind of jumped in on this as a kid, as a 19-year-old back in 11, and I've seen it all. Like, is there anything that we may have missed or you would love to pull out real quick that says, yeah, we can pass on to our audience?
It's going to sound very, very rudimentary, but go get it. It is yours to go get. Do not worry. There's always a million reasons to not do things, but the industry that we're in, the go-getters are rewarded every single time. So if you're feeling a little in a rut, if you're feeling a little complacent, hopefully this knocks you out of it. Go get it. And I'll tell you why you need to go get it, because if you don't, somebody else will. Because there is the 20-year-old Tommy Cole, there is the 15-year-old Marty Grunder knocking on doors when you're not going to take what you have built. So if you're feeling complacent or you're feeling like you're not rocking and rolling, go get it, because if you don't, somebody else will.
Yeah, we're full of opportunities, and we're
no doubt.
all great, but someone's going to scoop you up in 2 seconds and push you out of the way
if
you don't. And
100%.
I like to piggyback that, but you're going to hit roadblocks, and there's going to be things of doubt and concern. And, I always compare it to the wet, the noodle, the pool noodle that's hitting you in the face every day. Every day you're going to wait, and there's going to be some sort of thing hit you, but like, how tough can you get going and move forward in that direction with that pool noodle hitting you in the face, right?
Yep, absolutely right.
About. Yeah. Good stuff, Vince. Vince, I think you got some stuff coming up here soon about some webinars that you want to throw out there.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, one thing that I would encourage for everybody to at least look into is our ACE peer group program for the owners and leaders of landscaping companies. Marty started running peer group companies, peer groups 20 years ago. We still have members in them. They're great opportunities for you to get around other like-minded owners, to work on your business, not in your business, whether it's the big details or the small ones. It's an awesome opportunity to learn and grow. Chris Psencik and I are going to host a webinar titled the Breakthrough Blueprint. And we're going to give you 3 keys to unlock your growth potential. That's going to be on September 29th at 2:00 Eastern Time. There'll be links and I'm sure other ways that we can get this out to people, Tommy, so they can get the details and sign up. But Chris and I are going to talk about not only what are those 3 things that you need to do to unlock your growth potential and to kind of break through the current place you're at with our Breakthrough Blueprint, but we're also going to give you a little bit of an idea of what ACEs are, how you can get involved, and how you can join the over 140 other companies we work with, the over $1 billion in revenue they have combined, and how you can leverage that network to make yourself better. So yeah, everybody listening, I would encourage you to join Chris and I for our Breakthrough Blueprint webinar, September 29th. More details to come on that.
Yeah, I ditto everything you just said. Peer groups is where it's happening, guys. And the biggest thing I can say is you can share the ulcer. You are going through as a business owner the same thing what everyone else is going through. And instead of going home to your wife, complaining how rough of a day it is, you can complain to the other peer group members in there that are going through the same thing. It's great. We've grown at very, very, very good rate. Lots of members, and we're growing every year with more and more people. And it's just a great partnership and a great thing that you're involved in the peer group situation. So,
absolutely. No doubt.
Yeah. I'm excited for your webinar coming up soon. It is lots of great information. Vince, awesome stuff. Once again, we got to have you on maybe once a year. This is
yeah.
Good stuff.
Love to. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Talk about some other things, but it's great to have you on board, and thank you for your time.
Yep. Thanks, Tommy. Take care.
Ready to take the next step? Download our free profitability scorecard to quickly create your own baseline financial assessment and uncover the fastest ways to improve your business. Just go to mcfarlandstanford.com/scorecard to get yours today. To learn more about McFarland Stanford, our best-in-class peer groups, and other services, go to our website at mcfarlandstanford.com, and don't forget to follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. See you next time on The Roots of Success.